I'm Ebong.
I'm Pamela.
And I'm Kate.
Today we're dishing with you from Current, which is located at 1215 Connecticut Avenue Northwest in DuPont Circle.
And today our guest is Peter Corbett, who is the CEO of iStrategy Labs. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations on iStrategy Labs.
Congratulations and welcome.
I haven't even done anything
district.
You're changing the face of social media in Washington, D.C. Now, you came here, I read on your bio, in 2004, and from New York. And what have you seen? I mean, you were so entrenched in social media and new media and marketing and all that great stuff. What have you seen since you've moved in 2004 to now? How has that landscape changed?
Yeah, it's really a totally different town. So when I first came here, there was this really distributed network of small nodes, people getting together to talk about social media or getting to talk about code or design or whatever it was.
Right.
And these were groups of 10 and 20 people. And that still happens, which is great. But what's happened over the past 5 years, I'd say, all those nodes have coalesced into a very well-connected, tighter whole. And what that means is that we have much more visibility on the national stage. And so DC is starting to be recognized as a center for innovation, which is really interesting.
Well, this is a place a lot of people know for politics, but it's also a huge technology corridor. So this is not just something that started, the conversation started in 2004, right? It's been happening for a while.
Yeah, so there's this, I don't want to call it, there's a veteran technology industry in DC. Most of it has been centered in Northern Virginia. You have the biotech corridor,
right?
And 270 and all that area. But all of those models were created pre-quote-unquote Web 2.0, right? There were more heavy models. You had AOL, you had Sprint, you had MCI, you had all those guys. But this emerging technologist is sort of new, right? The people that are able to mash up data in 24, 48 hours to create a new thing that gets used by millions of people in a very short period of time. So connecting the emerging technologist with a veteran technologist has been something I've been focusing on pretty heavily over the past few months or so.
Talk briefly about an example of a mashup. I know, for example, some of the earlier mashups always included Google Maps, for example, and Zillow as a perfect example. So just give us a little bit more.
I'll give you some very DC-specific mashups.
Okay.
So we had done the Apps for Democracy contest in its original form back in September, and what people did was took DC's public data and overlaid it on things like Google Maps or other such entities. So parkatdc.com is a great mashup.
Yes.
What it
And a
lets you
very
do is,
useful one.
yeah, if you put in your address, it'll show you whether or not there's a parking garage nearby, if the meter is broken, or if there's been cars that were stolen.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right? So you
wow.
might say, I don't actually want to drive to that place. I'm going to take the metro now, etc. So hopefully cutting down on carbon emissions and making your trips throughout DC much safer and better.
So is this something that the government came to you at iStrategy Labs and asked you to do, or something that you thought was important to do after living here for a while?
Yeah, so at the time, Vivek Kundra, who's now the federal CIO, had just wanted to meet me, and we were talking a little bit, and he said, Peter, what would you do with all this data that we have? I said, well, let's have a big contest and see what the talented developers of our region could come up with. And Park at DC was one of those applications that were submitted. I think Sean, who developed that, won a silver medal for that. We had 60 total prizes. There were 47 web, iPhone, and Facebook applications developed in 30 days.
Okay.
Oh
The city estimated the value to be in excess of $2.3 million, and it cost the city $50,000.
Oh, wow.
So it was a massive return on investment driven by what we call citizen innovation.
Okay, great. Now tell us a little bit about the Twin Tech. I guess, are they meetups, would you call them?
It's happy hour.
Happy
It's a big cocktail party.
It's more than happy.
Did you make
I
it a
have
little
a
bit more
very
than that,
this is
right?
my favorite story. So Twin Tech, first and foremost, last one, we had our third one back in, I can't even remember, 2,200 people RSVP, 1,700 people come. It's all of the tech entrepreneurs, all the startups getting together just to have drinks. So there's this VC there, and he's from the Valley, and he's like, Peter, this is really interesting. It's an interesting event. I think the model's great. And I was like, the model, really? So tell me about that model. He's like, oh, you're repurposing the content, you guys are shooting, you're doing advertising on the side. I'm like, nope, it's a happy hour.
Just a simple.
Just,
But he gave you all these
just
good
a happy hour.
ideas of things that you can do
However-
with Twin Tech moving forward.
Yeah, and there are a lot of those, but I think it's really important for a technology culture to have just a massive event to have a good time at, without there needing to be commercial interests or anything else. We raise a lot of sponsorship every time we do the event, and all that sponsorship gets spent at the bar. So I don't profit from it personally.
Oh, great.
I certainly benefit from it, from people knowing me and knowing, me
And from
as a
the bar.
connector.
Right.
No,
And from the bar.
I like free drinks, so that's always good.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, I've been thinking about this for a while because I remember on the cusp of when Web 2.0 was really being talked about and became then more mainstream. When is Web 3.0 going to happen, or has it already happened?
I say we
What does
skip
that
it. We're
mean?
going to go right to Web 4.0 on this show.
We're skipping it.
Right?
Okay.
So we're going to sit and we're just
skipping.
going to be able to Google search our brains
heard it
across.
first here.
So we don't need a talk show, we need a think show.
The real answer is the semantic web is quote unquote Web 3.0, and that already exists. So it's about data being able to talk to data and deliver intelligent results very easily to a human being when they're interested in something. So I think Wolfram Alpha is actually maybe the best example of it right now. So if you go to wolframalpha.com, you'll see this computational knowledge engine where you can say, what is the GDP of Italy divided by France? And it will tell you. So you don't need to change, you don't have to do any equations, you don't have to change your query, it really understands what you're looking for, which is really interesting.
We talked a little bit earlier about, Pamela asked you moved here from New York, and you talked about how we have these great and creative people here. Which one's your favorite, New York or DC?
Well, DC specifically is my favorite. I decided to stay here.
That's a good answer.
Right answer.
I decided to stay here when I created iStrategy Labs because I really felt that we had all the raw materials necessary to create what I now call the social capital. The place where innovation in social media, social technology, and social entrepreneurship would happen, right? Because we have all these social change agents here, right? All the nonprofits, the NGOs, et cetera. And so I felt that over the next however long, I could really be a part of that change. So I think it's working. I think everyone who's been here knows that DC is absolutely buzzing right now. So that's terrific.
Awesome. Is your background in IT, or was it a mixture of IT and marketing, or?
Quickly, I mean, I was a concert producer and promoter when I was in Atlanta. I was a TV producer in New York, and then I was in the marketing field for a number of years, and I started my own digital agency, which does the digital part, the experiential part, which is about physical events, and then the content creation part. So marrying all of my background into one whole, I think.
So what have you not done that you would like to do? Because I mean, you've been in entertainment, technology, marketing, everything.
Business.
Actually,
We might have stumped him on that.
Wow. I need to do my next documentary. I haven't done one since 2003, I think it is.
And you're also published too. So you've
Next
Well,
documentary?
you could call me web published. I mean, I've contributed to a number of books, and I've been blogging since early 2000s or something like that. So, yeah.
Next documentary?
Yeah.
Most people haven't done their first.
Yeah, the first one was about how you can filter the noise in your life to find out what you're really passionate about. So I interviewed really successful people in a subjective way, that's a subjective definition. So artists and designers and CEOs, the director of MoMA, whatever that might be. So I really want to do a deep diving documentary into something. I haven't thought about it yet. So that'll hopefully do a little world travel around that.
Well, while you're thinking about that and so many other things, what's next for iStrategy Labs?
So what's next for us, we're probably going to grow a little more international, but also may open a New York office pretty soon. We've got a great client up there. I know we probably have to wrap soon, so it's just going to be a lot more interesting, fun stuff in the digital and experiential world from here on out.
Well, we love that. We love that you're moving from DC to New York and not the other way around. Folks, that does happen. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us. And thank you for joining us as well. Make sure to come back next time right here on The District Dish.